All right, guys. Hey, I'm just gonna kind of yo-yo for a little bit, maybe get some music going, and see if we can get a few more stragglers, and then we'll start the show. But thank you very much for hanging out. I'm John, and you're gonna learn a lot about yo-yos in the next hour, so it'll be fun. So, awesome. So, like, how many of you guys have played with yo-yo before? All right, cool. So, my name is John. I live here in Fargo. I'm an engineer. I'm a manufacturing and systems engineer during the day, but before that, especially to pay bills in college, I was playing with yo-yos. How many of you started yo-yoing or played with a yo-yo like before the age of 8? Yeah, yeah, we all go for that phase, right? I like yo-yoing because, especially professionally, because I like explaining to people because it's the only thing that I have to do in order to explain what it is. Because like people are like, "What do you mean professional yo-yo?" I'm like, you know that guy that came to your school when you were like 9 and he told you about the science of spin and to follow your dreams? He's like, yeah. It's like, well, imagine that guy, but me now. That's kind of my life. I started when I was 4 years old, so I was 21 years ago now. And it was because I was watching TV and I saw a kid. He was doing two-handed yo-yo tricks, and I was like, I can do that right now. So I bought some Duncan yo-yos, and I couldn't do it, right there and then. Actually, in fact, my first yo-yo experience was kind of a lot like this. But I still like really wanted to learn it because I had never heard of yo-yoing before, and it's like the most unique thing I've ever seen, especially just at a younger age. So I asked my mom the crazy question, like, do we know any professional yo-yo players? How do I get into this? But the internet was starting to pick up then at the time. So I started researching online, and we found out there was a yo-yo club in Minneapolis, where I'm originally from. Yeah, which is cool. Yeah, and they were called Extreme Spinners. And it was kids actually ages my age at the time, 4 to 14, just hanging out every Thursday and Friday, teach each other yo-yo tricks, which is really cool. And then eventually, the older kids, they either, got a girlfriend or went to college, whichever came first, and started, the club eventually disbanded, and I was the only younger one that was still doing yo-yoing. But I still, really wanted to do it, keep doing it. I started learning about yo-yo competitions, and I started competing, and I started doing good in these competitions, and eventually, I was like, how high can this exactly go? And I was starting to become one of the top rated people in the Midwest. And eventually I was like, I wonder if I could win the world championships. And somehow at age 11, I did it on the very first try. So, which is kind of cool. So back in 2005, I won the world championships. I'm trying to adjust this mic stand. It's taller than I am. There you go. Alrighty. So you guys that have played with yo-yo before, so if you know the name of this trick, just feel free to yell it out. Walk the dog. Yep. How about this one? Around the world. Yeah. So these are still two of the first two tricks you learn when you start out yo-yoing. But when I went through the club, I found out more of the intermediate stuff. For example, I think it was the 10th trick I learned was this one's called roller coaster. But I think eventually the trick that really kind of turned me on to yo-yoing was this trick called and bear with me, it's called boingy boingy. I like doing that trick at colleges because they're all right, this is gonna be that type of act, huh? But then they're it's jokes on you, get your head out of the gutter. But no, so it's interesting because when I started out yo-yoing, or when you start out yo-yoing, period, you start out with a certain style of yo-yoing. By that I mean I'm going to show you different, really, really different things you can do with a yo-yo. The first style is the style that you start out with. It's called 1A. So we have one yo-yo with the string attached to the yo-yo, which is kind of cool. And this first routine, which by the way, when you compete in competitions, you do things called freestyles, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're choreographing your own tricks to the music of your choice. So you mind if I do one, doing the first style of yo-yoing for you guys? One more? Yeah, there you go, yeah. Was that all right? All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right, I gotta catch my breath for a second. I like yo-yoing because it's like physical activity for me. Like some people run marathons, I yo-yo for 5 minutes, so it's good. That's how thing goes. I'll just talk a little bit more about my yo-yo journey before I do this last routine here. So like I said, I've been yo-yoing for 21 years. And once I won the world championship, I was kind of like trying to figure out, like what's the next step? Like, what do you do after this? Because it's like really scary when you're so young, or just even, doesn't matter what age, you like reach a certain point. You don't even have to be the best in the world, but you just know so much. And one of the things that really helped me was just connecting with different worlds, and different types of art. The thing that I didn't realize about yo-yoing is that there's so many different elements to it that can be appreciated across the board. The fact that it is a toy, but the fact that too that it's art, at the same time it's dance and stuff like that, which is really why I appreciate you guys being here, because I think this is what this weekend's about, is just making everything come together. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. Thank you. A lot of people always ask me at this point in the show, especially if I'm doing a show for drunk people, like, is that a magical yo-yo that you're using on stage? And actually, there's a lot of science nowadays with yo-yos that a lot of people don't realize, that with the beginner yo-yos like the Duncan Butterfly or the Duncan Imperial, or even just really any yo-yo you can buy at Walmart, it has something called a fixed axle. So it's like just cheap plastic, kind of thinned down to a certain cylinder, or wood. But the thing with today's modern yo-yos, if you want to kind of learn more tricks and make it spin longer than 20 seconds, is they're just putting ball bearings in the middle. And that makes the yo-yo spin longer, so you can do more tricks. In fact, the world record for the longest spinning yo-yo is 35.5 minutes. It's like watching paint dry. It's not. But at the same time, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my word, I can't believe this is happening. It's great. And also, obviously, it's a lot of practice and hanging out. One thing that I've learned throughout yo-yoing is just like interesting ways to meet people. And it is a workout, believe it or not. Like, one of my things I like to do before yo-yoing is every time I do a yo-yo routine and I'm practicing for a contest, I'll run around my house 5 times, because I like being nervous up here is exactly how it feels when you run around. But I don't know why I told you that fact, but I just feel like it's one of those things. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing a T-shirt that says Monkey Finger on it. I am a sponsored yo-yo player by Monkey Finger. They're a Canadian yo-yo company. They're really cool. If you want to come up to me after show, giving away some free stickers, and you can sign up on my email list, where I'll send out a monthly email of cool yo-yo videos, what's going on in the community. And sometimes I travel a lot. If I'm in your area, you can see you can come see me again, and see my other types of shows that I do. But you guys want to see the type of yo-yoing that won me the world championship? All right. So this last style yo-yoing is called off-string, because the yo-yo, well, it's not attached to the string. So yeah. Now a lot of people wonder, like, how does that work? Like, I'm not like the Asian Harry Potter, but it's still a lot of science. See, what it is like when you're yo-yoing with the yo-yo on the string is composed of 2 different frayeds of string that just wrap around the middle of it. Off string, you're just simply taking that off of it. And when you're trying to get back to your hand, the way that I'm doing is just using principles of friction and science. I got to throw the string into the pathway of the yo-yo, so that will automatically want to wind itself up. And it'll end up looking like this, basically. So I like doing off-string yo-yoing because, the yo-yo can go anywhere up high, can go off my body, stuff like that. But to get it back, like I said, you just take the string and you throw it in the path of the yo-yo. So since the yo-yo is spinning this way, it's got to throw it in the path to yo-yo. But I'll just do this last routine, and then afterwards we'll do a Q&A. And I did bring some yo-yos that you guys can try. You can buy them if you want to, but I'm just here to kind of share what I love doing with you guys. So, but thanks again for hanging out, and this is Off-String Yo-Yoing. So. All right, so usually at this point, I just kind of like to interact with you guys. If you have any questions about yo-yos or, you know, why I'm here, I don't know. Yeah, just feel free to raise your hand. I'd love to answer some questions. Yeah. So the question was, how's the size of yo-yo basically affect the tricks and basically how I approach it? So if obviously the off-string yo-yoing, use bigger yo-yos, but the only thing that's really changing is just the width of it, essentially. There's guys out there, especially the Japanese, that like the risk factor. They'll use yo-yos this small to do it. It's just it's not as successful. But otherwise, we're starting off yo-yoing. Usually use about we call this a butterfly shape yo-yo, especially with today's trend of making hybrid materials. Like, so this is part titanium, part aluminum. You just kind of want that wider base and a heavier throw because the ultimate goal is to get the most tricks out of one single throw of the yo-yo. So yeah, that's kind of how it evolves. I'm not an expert in it, but when people do two-handed yo-yo tricks, they use kind of imperial size, so more of the round shape, just because it creates more friction with the thinner gap of the yo-yo, and you're able to regenerate it back out and back out again, and it's really cool. So, yeah. That's a good question. The question was, with the off-string yo-yo, do I keep going in the same direction? There are opportunities where you can change it. It's called a regeneration of spin. So basically, I'll pretend like I'm going to wind it back to my hand, but I'll use my wrist to turn it the other way, essentially, and then it'll be spinning completely in a different direction. And it allows for tricks like, here's an example, actually. Any other questions you guys have? Yeah. Oh, whoever wants to go first, I guess. My most expensive yo-yo. I own a $4,600 yo-yo. Yeah. Yeah. If you're wondering if it's made out of gold, it is made out of gold. I got it for winning the world championship because I forgot to spread this. When you win a yo-yo contest, especially in the earlier days, you weren't winning money or trophies. You were winning more yo-yos. Which is great because you need more the more in time it goes. But yeah, that was a prize I got for winning the world championship was a golden yo-yo. So that's really cool. Otherwise, every yo-yo that I've used today, this cost $12. This black one, this one right here is $22. So yo-yoing is like really economical nowadays. So when I hear parents say like, "Oh, I can't believe you're spending $40 on a yo-yo," I'm like, well, if you add it up, he wanted to play hockey. That's a $300 season ticket. It's the sticks break. Your kid's going to grow every year and break something every year. So yo-yoing, you can buy, I would say 4 yo-yos, maybe spend $100. 100 strings, which can last you a year, it's $10 nowadays. So it's really cool, and that's why it's reaching more people across the world, is because people can literally afford to create things that they just think about, whether they're in line waiting for the movie theater or practicing for a competition. So it's kind of cool. Hey, Avia. You have a question? I do my hair like this? It's the Filipino charm in me. I don't know. I literally don't use any hair product for this. I think it's all the sweating. It's probably that. It grows in like that, yeah. I used to have an afro, like I'm not kidding. I grew my hair down to basically my side and just kind of puffed it up. But but when in baseball time came around, I couldn't put a hat on, so I had to shave it all off. So priorities, yeah. The most complex one that I've done. Oh, did you have more to that, or? Yeah, definitely. I would say that one where I throw the string out, and it's just free fall. The yo-yo is free fall, the string's free fall, and you just hope it times perfectly. Yeah, I practiced that for the world contest in 2007, and was one of the first people to do it, like in that type of environment. It really is luck. At a certain point, you can practice it a million times, but it's just kind of, can you get that consistency of everything? I would say to get it to what I can do it right now, I could probably do 90% of the time, every single try, but I would say it took about 2 years to get that down. It's just because at the time when I was trying to develop it, off-string yo-yo was only about 3 years old, so companies didn't know how to make off-string yo-yos. They were making them purely out of plastic and mainly for the hopes that they would break the yo-yo and have to buy another. But then people picked up on that and were like, we should make it out of rubber and plastic, which is what this one is made of. But then engineering played a bigger part down the road into what is today mainly just pure plastic yo-yos. They're usually made out of Delrin or just a heavy silicone calcium mix, which is kind of interesting. But it holds up its durability. Like this yo-yo right here is actually my signature off-string yo-yo that I use. And when we were doing prototype testing of this, the way that you do that is they send you 50 of them, and they're like, yeah, I want you to destroy every single one of these. And then mark down how you did it. So I was going on the back, I was throwing it 20 feet in the air and not catching it and doing it on concrete. I was literally throwing it against the wall, and it's just figuring out the amount of calcium you want to put in it. Because if you put too much in it, it becomes rubbery, and the yo-yo doesn't spin as long because it doesn't maintain the weight versus initial speed intentions when you're throwing it. It's a lot of math, and I like it, so yeah. You guys have any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. Do you always put the yo-yo on the same finger? Traditionally, you're supposed to put it on the middle finger. When I was younger, because my hands were much smaller than they are now, it's really smart when you're starting off kids to put on the middle finger. It also just helps with the way that you're balancing the yo-yo in your hand. You can just kind of pivot it, the index and your ring finger on the sides of it while balancing it in the middle with your middle finger, just having that loop. But if once you get more experience down the road, there are people who will put it on their index finger because of, X reason. It doesn't really have any rhyme or reason to it, but there's definitely world-class yo-yo players who don't put it on their middle finger, but they started out traditionally with it on the middle. So I always love explaining kids when I do workshops, like, all right, we're going to put it on the middle finger, and they're like, oh, this one? Yeah, it's great. Yeah. 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 Have I done glow-in-the-dark yo-yo performances? I have, yeah. The hardest part about doing a glow-in-the-dark yo-yo performance, the question was about that, is you got to figure out the lighting versus the material. So if you're using UV lights, you want to use anything, bright, translucent, because it'll shine. And then you have to wear all black as well. Otherwise, you can put LED lights that will turn on due to how much it's spinning around. It's basically just pressure on the light turning it on. That's also something that's been going on. It's definitely useful for bigger theater shows. So if I was playing, like a high school theater, I would probably want to do something light up at some point, because that way you have a totally new focal point that's just different. So does that answer your question? Sweet. No problem. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, feel free to, once again, I have an email sign-up list here. It's me sending out fun yo-yo videos. They're very kid-friendly. And also just, if you want to get into yo-yoing, I'll provide information on that, as well as just if I'm in your town doing a show, you'll know where I'm at, and feel free to come check it out. Otherwise, thank you very much for hanging out. We're going to do a yo-yo workshop, too, afterwards. If you want to hang out and learn how to yo-yo, I'll be hanging out here until 10:30. So thank you very much once again, guys. I appreciate this.